first thing I had to do is, you can see on this one, we have this access. Well, I'm going to actually move this door at some point as well, just to configure the room a little better. But if you come back in here, you can see we've got a pretty, you can just show them in here, we've got a pretty wide space. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and grab this from you. If you can see, what I'm going to do is I already removed the insulation here. I've removed that from in between 4 studs. I know it's tough to see with this lighting. We'll get it better in a second here. All right, but you see I got 4, there's the insulation, and I've removed it from 4 studs in between 4 cavities. Now what I'm going to do is just remove this one stud. You see there's one 16-inch on center, another 16-inch. Okay, there's that other 4th space down there. I'm going to remove this middle one right here. Take that out. I'm going to frame out the door and then cut the paneling. All right, so let's go ahead and do that, then it'll be better. Okay, now that I've got this removed, what I want to do is frame, I explained before, I'm going to frame the door out from the inside here, and then cut it out. So I just have to measure the distance across from my header, and then I need to measure for the jack stud once I get that in. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to frame the door out. All right, you've got your header. Actually, you can show them over here where this light is. This is exactly the framing. You see the header up here going across, and then your jack stud, and that will frame out your door. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so in order to get this header level, I've had to shim this a little bit here. Not a big deal. Alright, just shimming that. So now this is level. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is cut it out from the inside. Problem with cutting it from the other side, first of all, you don't know really where you are. You can't see it. And the other problem is you don't know about wires. And even if you think there's no outlets here, the wire could be running across, and you run into a lot of trouble like that. Sometimes the worst case is you just nick it, you don't even know you did it, and then down the road you have a problem. So I like to cut it from the inside whenever possible. But before I do that, I want to remove that baseboard. I want to remove the entire baseboard instead of just cutting through it, because then it's a lot harder to do your trim work. So I'm just going to remove the whole baseboard and then cut this out. Door. You hear just a quick reminder, always clean as you go. You don't want to be dragging, if you're doing this for yourself or for somebody else, you don't want to be dragging dirt all through the house. I'll make my mark here. Closet like this is typically 2 foot wide, and it's 2 foot on the inside. So if I'm going to measure from here back 2 feet, that's where I want the inside. Okay, this is going to be the inside of the 2x4. So basically, the 2x4 will line up like this, so that the inside of the closet is 2 feet from here to here. Right? Don't make the mistake of putting it here, because now you got 3.5 inches shy of 2 feet. Do that math. All right? So make your mark back here 2 foot. Make your mark back here 2 feet. All right, now I just need to square this up. So I'm going to use a square to come off of this wall, so I'm nice and square. Make sure my marks are in the right spot, and then I'll cut my my plate, my bottom plate for the framing. Okay, on this particular one here, this 2-footer, I'm put it right up to my line, but I'm gluing it because I don't have a stud here. I've got a 3/4 inch subfloor, which is fine. I just don't want to start popping all kinds of nails through here because I don't know what's underneath. All right, could have ductwork, all kinds of. I just don't want to start popping nails, so I'm just going to glue it. This one, on the other hand, coming across, I've got. You can see where my floor joists run. So wherever my floor joists are, you can see the nails. I can go ahead and pop a couple nails in, and that'll hold that. But wherever I don't have a stud to nail into, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it. And then I make my my framing studs real tight, and they hold that down there. It'll be fine. I'm just going to take a second to explain this to you. So you got your bottom plate, typical framing, and then you'd have the top plate. And then your 2x4, your stud wall, would be in between like that. So there's your wall. And every 16 inches you'd have another one of these, correct? Got that? All right. So in this particular case, we have the bottom, very typical, but at the top we've got this. So we have nothing to nail into here. We have to create a top plate. And the way I'm going to do that is to add some nailers across, like so. And then from there, I can nail my top plate. All right, and then my stud will have a little bit of an angle, but I'll have a top plate. So what I need to do is measure the distance between these rafters. And these guys did a good job because it's 22.5 inches. All right, 24 inch on center. I like mine 16, but that's what they did. So 22.5. I'm going to cut about 3 over here, and then I'm going to cut some for the other side as well. Okay, so to find this top plate, I'm just going to show you a little quick, little trick. Quick trick. This is just called leveling up a 2x4. So you basically take your level. This is where my stud is going to go in the corner, okay? And I'm just going to level this. Wow, that's pretty good by eye. So I'm good here. All right. Now I just want to. I'm just curious. Yeah, it's going to have to come this way, but that doesn't really matter. I'm just leveling it up to this stud here. That's it. Make sure I'm still okay on the bottom. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mark this back corner. Okay. So now I know that this is the back of my wall right here. So when I take my top plate, I'll do the same thing in the other corner, and I come across. I just want to make sure that I line it up so that the back wall will be even with that mark. Okay? Pretty simple. Alright, so to find this angle now, I'm just going to hold this at my bottom and then just scribe that. That's how you find your angle. And they'll all be the same now, all along the back. So I've got 4 feet, 16 inch on center, so I'll go cut 5 of them. And they'll all be the same along the back. And then we'll do the sides. Alright, so I just want to do a quick review. When you're doing your studs, make sure that you level them as you go. I have another video on, it's called Old School Nailing Techniques. It'll really help you understand how to nail studs, how to level them as you go, and you know, if they're a little twisted, how to straighten them out. So just a quick review. You know, we put these nailers on here and here, and the reason we did that is so we can put this board on. This will end up being your top plate. Normally, normal framing, this board would be straight across, okay, so, and your framing would go down just like that. That's typical. But in this particular case, because of this slope that I'm dealing with, I've got to do something a little different, so this top plate has to be on a slope. That's why we put these nailers. Now, you don't want to just nail it up. You want to make sure that you're plumb and square and level to the bottom. And so one of the things that we can do is level a 2x4. So I'm going to put it on the edge down here. And on the I only put in one nail in here. This way I can move this board. This board will move. Right? So now what I can do is take my level, put it on here. I'm going to walk around here. And I can level this. Well, I'm pretty good. I guess when you do it long enough, that's it. It's already good. So now I know that the outside of this bottom, can we see that with the camera? The outside of the bottom is level with the outside of the top. So now I know, I can mark it here in case it moves, that this is where this needs to be nailed. It's already good at the bottom. Okay, so I'll put a nail in here, and then I go ahead and put my stud in. Now, this is the angle. Obviously, this is the angle I'm going to want right here. I already cut it, but you can find that angle simply by drawing a line here, wherever you want it, and then cutting that angle. Okay. The other thing that, and that holds true all the way around. Just measure and then mark your angles. Now, the other thing that I needed to do here was, you can see on the inside wall, because I'm going to be putting sheetrock in here, okay, and this will be the wall, let's say right here. I've got nothing to nail sheetrock against in here. Can you see that? In here, I have sheetrock, there's nothing to nail it to. So what I'm going to do is run a couple different ways to do this. One is to run some 2x4s across this way. Just run them across, and then you have something to nail to on the inside. It's the simplest way. The only problem here is I've got all these wires, so I really can't put any across the top. And I don't feel like moving this stuff. One of the things that, I mean, it's just too many wires. I just don't want to deal with it right now. So what I'm doing is that stud that I took out here, I just use it as a template. And I'm going to go ahead and call it, you know, I'll put this stud in right in here. It should fit. Okay. So this will just go right inside here, like that. I've already cut that angle, and I'll nail that in. All right, so now I've got, almost killed myself. All right, so I've got an inside. You see that? And I'm not worried about this wire because I'm going to be nailing around it. I'm going to be boxing that in. Actually, I'll put this here. All right. I'll box that wire in. So this will be. I have to cut that angle a little better. So I'll be able to nail in here. You got that? Does that make sense? All right. That's it. So I'm going to keep nailing these studs in, and then I'll sheetrock it. All right. So the last bit of framing advice, tips I want to give you here is just these corners. I know this sometimes can confuse people. This last stud that I have here really isn't going to help me with framing out the inside, or you know, having a nailer for the sheetrock, because if this is the sheetrock and it comes all the way across, this wall, this side wall will end here. So there's really, and you see this all the time, and it's really bad. There's just nothing to nail that to, so you end up with like really loose sheetrock on the inside. So you need another stud here, right? But if you just butt it up, it's still not enough. So what you do is you want that stud to be out here. So now you have, see that corner? So you've got sheetrock coming from this direction, okay, across here. You've got something to nail to. And then the sheetrock that's on the back wall, you'll have something to nail to. And one of the simplest ways to do that is just to take scraps that you have and put a nailer here. So now when you put this one on, you have something solid to nail to, and it gives you the right spacing because then when you put this inside for the sidewall, this one will go here. See that? Really simple to remember. So that's just the last tip. I'm going to finish that up and then sheetrock it. All right. So the last thing I'm going to show you how to do on this closet is how to cut drywall and hang it. I've already got this marked. So you basically mark wherever you want to cut, and not on the dark side, on the light side, the side that you're going to be painting, the inside, the finished side, you just take a drywall knife and just carefully along the line, just make a mark. You're not going to cut all the way through, okay? And then all you have to do is flip it and bend it. You'll see a crease on this side. That's it. Pops right off. So this is the piece that I want. Now, screwing it in. See if you can get that camera around. Come on inside. Go around the other side. And you can see I'm short of the wires up here because I'm going to box that in. All right, and this is going to get all cased out. But I just want to show you when you do your drywall nails, because I've seen so many people do this that I don't think they understand the concept. You want to make sure that you sink your screw into the drywall. So when I run my finger over it, I don't feel the screw. The screw is inside. You want to indent that. So when you put your spackle on top, your mud, it's nice and flush. Otherwise, you're going to see that screw is going to be popping through, and that's not good. So you just make sure that they're all recessed inside. Okay, so that's it on this closet. The only thing I got to do now, finish up, is take some pine and wrap it around in the inside of the door. I'm going to make my own door, and then case it out. But I have a separate video up on doing trim around the door. So that's it for this project. Hope you learned something.